Hello everyone, my name is Clantis and welcome to the Clantis Dumaguda podcast. So without further ado, please do me a favor, guys. I don't do this often enough, but I'm supposed to do it, is to ask you to please smash me the like button, because guys, the YouTube algorithm helps the YouTube channel to grow. When you smash the like button, you are basically sending the YouTube algorithm to promote the video to more people. So in order for us to succeed in the mission that we are doing right now, is for these videos to be pushed to more people, so that more people can know about us and so that this family as well grows. So I ask you to please smash me the like button. Also do so with other YouTubers as well. When they ask you to smash the like button, it basically helps their channels to grow as well. So with that administration aside, the reason why you guys have not been seeing me quite a lot, so as you guys know, the year just began. Usually around January to about end of Feb, but things get really hectic at work, but then they begin to slow down at the beginning of March. However, because there are other things as well that are happening in South Africa, we are about to go to elections. An election date was announced for the 29th of May 2024. So of course there's going to be more business that will also be taking place, especially with my company and things like that. So you'll have to bear with me, but I promise you guys are going to get a video each week going forward. Other than that, guys, I do get asked questions about the political stability of South Africa. I have answered this question in a video before, and I did say that South African politics is pretty much stable. It's a democracy that we are running here. It's a multi-party state, and pretty much our constitution, it is duped to be one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, though it is problematic here and there when it comes to the real things that affects the people of South Africa. The constitution has a tendency sometimes of standing in the way. So the population is pretty much divided about the constitution. You have a group of people that will say, no, we need to amend the constitution. And then you have another group of people who will say, if you amend the constitution, you are opening loopholes for dictators to come in, and also manipulation of democracy, etc. and so on. I personally, myself, I feel that it's the people that are running these institutions that are given power by the constitution that are failing the people of South Africa. I still feel that the constitution is okay. Yes, here and there are some things that are a little bit problematic. For example, I'm one of the people that was against the death penalty. The death penalty in South Africa was abolished just before we entered democracy in 1994, because as per the South African history, it was used mostly to deal with political and apartheid activists. And so they felt that if the death penalty came into democracy, it may also get misused by people with political ambitions and agendas. I get that, and I kind of agree with that. However, with the level of murder in this country, I feel like, you know what, maybe I need to change my mind regarding the death penalty. Today, if you ask me if the death penalty should come back, I will tell you without a hesitation that yes, it needs to come back. Maybe to intimidate. For me, it's mostly to intimidate, because one thing I know about Africans, we fear death. Like, fear death. So if you have it dangling in people's faces, chances are death rates, mostly murder rates in South Africa, I believe, will die. Because just above us, Botswana, the country of Botswana, they actually have the death penalty. And when it comes to crimes of murder in Botswana, they're next to nothing, if zero at all. So you can tell that the people of Botswana are adhering to the laws when it comes to murder. They are not committing those crimes. Versus here in South Africa, where the murderer has more rights than the victim and the victim's family. They are protected by the Constitution, Section 11 of the Constitution, which reads, everyone has a right to life, which is kind of like ironic because the murderer decided to take the right of life from the person that they've murdered, but their own is more precious. So I feel like a referendum needs to be called, and the people of South Africa, hopefully they vote in favor of the death penalty being brought back, and then amend section 11 of the Constitution, which says everyone has a right to life. I do believe that everyone has a right to life. However, if you are going to take somebody's life, then your life also should be as worthless, shouldn't it? Well, call it whatever you want to call it. Again, I want to remind everybody that may be thinking, oh, you need to do your research. This channel is not about research. I don't do research. I speak from my heart, from my observations as well as experiences. So don't come and say I must be academic about something that I'm experiencing and I'm observing. So please, you can keep your academic mentality and take it to other channels where they do academic stuff. Here, I just speak my mind about my experiences and observations. So the purpose of this video, there is something that I've been meaning to talk to you guys about. Up until it was covered by a fellow content creator from Uganda. Her name is Ndagire. I think it's her name, Ndagire. I'm so sorry if I am butchering your name, Ndagire. I apologize. However, I am going to leave her channel link in the description box below. She dropped a video, I think, day before yesterday, which was, I think, on Thursday, regarding two white men that were calling their own to come to Africa to invest. So the first one basically was talking about something, you know what, in as much as this is upsetting, but at the same time it's so true, because in Africa we still have, unfortunately, the older generation, especially the bloomers, they still have this mentality of looking at a white person as superior to black people, something to not exactly worship, but something to listen to, something that they feel is always right versus their own black people. And as a result of that, some white people have actually picked on that, and they are using it to their advantage by coming and inserting themselves into Africa, especially onto Africa's wealth. What's underneath our soils is what they are after, and they know exactly how to abstract those minerals from them underground simply by building relationships with either the president. If it's not the president, it's going to be the minister. If it's not the minister, it's going to be a manager of a particular department of government. And in most cases, these so-called friendships, it's always the European with the money will have an African leader in their pocket, giving them breadcrumbs while they are carrying the whole loaf of bread to Europe, to the US, to Canada, and building those continents. So the first guy, I'm going to play the video in a short while. These two are white men. They are calling each other to Africa. Come to Africa to invest. The first guy, he's talking about you as a white person. Simply being white, you already have a foot in the highest hierarchy of a particular country in Africa that you choose to go to its soil. The second guy talks about the economic opportunities that are in the African continent, but he's mostly speaking about West Africa. The reason why he speaks so much of West Africa is because he has businesses there. I picked up that he does own or purports to own a real estate company in Ghana. And he talks about how his company is the one that sells land to you African Americans who are going to Ghana, to you African diasporan who goes to West Africa to buy a house. He's the one who sells you that, the white guy. It's not a Ghanaian, it's not a Nigerian, it's not a Liberian, it's not a Sierra Leone, it is not all the West African strip. By the sound of things, I think he may be the one who is in control, and he's inviting his fellow Europeans and Americans to come to West Africa because West Africa is open for economic opportunities, and these opportunities, they keep emerging on a daily basis. At the same time, we are having YouTubers that come to Africa. They create videos that are very curated towards these people, the African diasporans, wherever they may be in the world, and showing them the type of continent that you would not want to come to, let alone to visit. They will take you to a safari. Okay, this is the beauty of the African continent, but on the flip side of it, then poverty. Not just poverty, but abject poverty. They will show you the weird cultures. They will show you areas of abject poverty, and that fly or two that is sitting on some of the kids that are playing in dirt. And then you sitting in America, sitting in Britain, sitting in Germany, sitting South America, in the in the islands, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to go there. And on top of that, they'll tell you the continent is dark and it's riddled with wars and diseases. But them, what they do, they come here and they are now creating videos, and they're encouraging each other, calling each other to come to Africa to invest. The other one is saying, oh no, you don't have to do much work. The mere fact that you already have a foot in the highest hierarchies of the respective African countries. And I agree with that. Unfortunately, I agree. Yes, I know there are going to be some people who are going to deny this fact. Okay, cool. You can deny it all you want. The fact of the matter is our leaders are selling Africans to Europeans simply because of their skin color. Because they still believe, or maybe their minds are still colonized. I don't know what is the reason behind that, where a white person just comes, speak American accent, and they're already part and parcel of that elite group of people. And the same black people, they are not the people that lead these guys. It's these guys that lead our leaders. They tell and influence our leaders. If they found a patch of land that they think they want to farm in, that they think they want to open a factory in, or they think the land is next to a mineral deposit, and then they'll go to our African leaders and say, remove those people from that land. And guess what happens the following day? People are removed. People are removed forcefully, sometimes even through death. It's unfortunate. It's just so unfortunate that that guy spoke so confidently and so coldly. Look at his facial expression. He just says, but just speaking, your American accent, you are in. He's correct. He's correct, unfortunately. So in other words, what he was doing, he was encouraging his fellow Europeans and white Americans that your privilege will get you in, and then from there you can pillage, you can land all you want and go build yourself wealth wherever you come from, and you will continue to build generational wealth over and over and over again, while the people of the land are going to retrograde and they are never going to get to where they want to. It's just so unfortunate, but it's also the truth. The second guy who talks about investment, he's closing the gap for everyone else. In West Africa, I would not be surprised if he is the go-to guy. If you want to open a real estate company, he's probably the gatekeeper. Without him giving you, African diaspora, permission to have a real estate company in West Africa, you'll be lucky if he is not that big. But by the sound of things, he knows a lot about West Africa. He knows the type of opportunities. He knows the type of economic opportunities that are there that I don't think he is going to tell you as an African diasporan what those opportunities are. He's basically going to get emails from his fellow people that are going to write, okay, what are the opportunities that are in West Africa, and he will give it to them. Then you write him the same email, and you're never going to hear a word from him. And the other thing that I've observed, you guys, you know me, I like going to Tambo International to meet my African diasporans that are visiting South Africa. And the first thing that I always look at is the flight that you were on. How many of our people that were on that flight, and how many of the others that were on that flight. And in most cases, it's always the number is still very much skewed, but you are still told that Africa is a dark continent. You are still told that Africa is riddled with poverty and diseases and wars. And yet these airplanes, when they land, mostly, what are you doing where there is war? Unless you are telling me that you volunteered yourself to come and fight in this war. You are a soldier, or you are a human shield. I don't know what the case might be that they are here for, but you are sitting there and like, do they like us? You ask stupid questions. Some of our African diasporans ask stupid questions like, do they like us? Do Africans like us? Do you think these Europeans, white Americans, Asians, Arabs, Latin Americans, yes, even Latin Americans are coming to Africa because of the economic opportunities that they've discovered? Do you think they give a rat's tail if Africans like them? No, they don't. They hop on that plane with $2,500 in their pockets, and they get to the African continent. By the end of 2024, they are carrying bags of hundreds of millions of dollars back to their own to their home countries. Not only are they going back to their home countries with hundreds of millions of dollars, they've also brought to the African continent their siblings, their children, their neighbors, their countrymen. And Africans that they've removed from their land for whatever purposes that they come to invest in Africa for, they are not occupying managerial positions. Instead, these managerial positions are held by the people, by their fellow countrymen. Irrespective of how educated people of that area are, they will never hold managerial positions. If you go to a Chinese business, you will never find a black person or an African holding a managerial position. If you go to an Arabic person's business, you will not going to find an African occupying a managerial position, let alone executive position. Instead, it's going to be their countrymen and women. Chinese, they will not hire a black person for office work. They want you there slaving in the sun, in the rain, and all of that, while they're sitting in comfortable offices pushing paper. Of people that, by people that they went and collected. That is why there is this notion, again, this is not a research channel, but I've been hearing that in South Africa alone, there are over 2 million illegal Europeans that are living here. Why? Because it took one European that saw an economic opportunity in South Africa, started a business, and went and collected a brother, and went and collected a daughter, and went and collected a neighbor, an old university friend, and they got here with visiting visas, and they never returned to Europe. They are working in managerial positions, executive positions, and yet a black South African does not hold any of those positions, but they are doing breadcrumb type of job in that business. Same goes with Arabs. There are Arabs that are illegally in South Africa. Same goes with Asians, illegally in South Africa. But we only focus on the illegal Africans, but we never talk about illegal Asians, illegal Europeans, illegal white Americans, illegal Canadians that are in South Africa running multi-million-dollar companies. And then you want to know if Africans like you. How is that working for you? That question, let it sink in first, and after it has sunk in, please let me know in the comment section, how does it work for you? Because it seems like that question is holding you back from hopping on that plane. I'm not saying you can afford to come to Africa. If you can afford, what's holding you back? Is it not that question, if Africans like you? Do you think these people care if Africans like them? Now let me tell you about American privilege. Now I'm talking of our people. When you are an African American, I have this term that I call African American privilege. It's very much prevalent in South Africa. Some South Africans may dispute this, but because I hang out a lot with African Americans when they are here in South Africa, I've observed it. It works for African Americans. By mere opening your mouth, your Americanness opens doors for you. I'm talking doors of opportunity. Now let's take what the first white guy said in the video. He said, it only takes you having this and opening your mouth. Now you just open your mouth, and the moment people hear that you're an American or a British or a Canadian, the doors of opportunity that will open for you, you will find yourself in the high society or high societies of South Africa. And then that connection will lead you to finding your economic opportunity. Let's utilize that call that they are making to their people, and then you take it. Come to Africa with your accent, and doors of opportunities will open for you in Africa. I would rather you, African diasporan, getting into our politicians, our leaders, and people with power or influence in the business sector, absorbing you and giving you business opportunity. I would rather you do that. I would rather you being the real estate Mongol in Africa rather than somebody else. We need to call each other for economic opportunities on the continent. We need to call each other for investment opportunities on the African continent. I'm talking to us African diasporan. As an African myself, I'm calling you, African diasporan, to come and invest that $2,500. Do you understand how much $2,500 can do for you in Africa? I'm just going to give you a simple business investment opportunity. With $2,500, you can lease out an apartment, furniture the apartment, put it on Google or wherever, turning it into an Airbnb. Right now, South Africa is experiencing an influx of visitors, and most of these visitors that are coming to South Africa, they are looking for cheap accommodation. Do you think owning an Airbnb in South Africa, you are not always going to have 99% occupation throughout the course of the year? Sitting there in America, you will be receiving money coming from South Africa. I was speaking to an African American couple. They own 7 Airbnbs in South Africa. 7. And they make more money than the money that they earn at the jobs that they work, their 9-to-5s, from the Airbnbs that they own in South Africa. They own 2 properties of their own, one in Cape Town, one in Johannesburg. Whenever they come to visit, they decide, okay, if we land in Johannesburg, we go to a house in Johannesburg, and then if they want to have a small little holiday, they go down to Cape Town to that house. Those 2 houses, guess what they are called? Lock and key. I think they call them lock and key. There's somebody in there that is looking after their homes. They pay this individual a monthly salary to look after those homes. And then the best part about the people they've hired, they are South Africans. They've created jobs for 2 South Africans. So with just $2,500, 2,000. You can lease somebody else's property and turn that property into an Airbnb. You hire a South African that is going to manage and take care of your Airbnb, making sure that your visitors or your occupants, they are satisfied, they leave satisfied, and also spread the word to other visitors that are coming to South Africa with just $2,500. If you got a bigger budget, then you can buy a house, turn that house into a boutique hotel. I'm just giving you a simple business idea that you can run. However, there are bigger economic opportunities that are here on the African continent. In South Africa, for example, the last time I checked, when it came to the fourth industrial revolution, South Africa was about 7 years behind Rwanda, Ghana, and Nigeria. Now, as an African American or as a British, Afro-British or an Afro-Canadian or Afro-Latina, if you feel or you think you can come and contribute your ideas, your innovations to get South Africa at least as close as possible to these countries with your innovations, then do it. These are huge opportunities where you can build yourself a name, a legacy right here on the continent. There are economic opportunities in information technology, waiting. These are special skills or critical skills that my country is looking for. In medicine, in education, opportunities are vast. But you know who wants to occupy all of these? It is those people. They're coming, they're calling each other. And they bring their friends, families, and old college friends and exes. They run these companies. They establish them and they run them themselves. And they do not employ South Africans or Africans. So let me play you this video so that you can hear, and then I'll come back and we'll continue with my commentary.
Here's the point. If you're a white guy, especially from the West, if you're from the West, it's easy for you to insert yourself into the highest reaches of African society. Because in Africa, automatically, by being American or European, you will be taken more seriously. People will take you more seriously, the African people will take you more seriously, and you will be at a automatically higher echelon just because of where you come from. Now, of course, in business, it's all about who you know. It's all about what social circles you move in, all right? And this is something that people don't like to admit, but it's true.
Western Africa is starting to get pretty rich, and a lot of international investors are overlooking the opportunities that exist in countries like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. I believe that the next generation of ultra-rich billionaires in real estate are going to come from Western Africa. I had an opportunity to do consultation for a development company in Abidjan, and what I saw there was very surprising. The main business district, which is called Plateau, was so well developed that you would have mistaken it for a very wealthy Western city. And some of the areas that were less wealthy, like Cocody, had houses that would put any of our McMansions to shame. We need to have Western-style finance, which is already coming out there, mainly through Deutsche Bank and some of the Swiss banks that are making a lot of inroads into West Africa. As more of us Western investors realize that we can make amazing returns in Africa, we're going to start putting money in there, and it's just going to fuel a big fire.
Ghana has made selling houses to foreigners easy. Some people argue a little too easy. Essentially, the government of Ghana planned to jumpstart the economy by encouraging the diaspora to move back to Africa. In our Ghana developments, Western money is responsible for many of our home sales, particularly in the more expensive areas. So let's talk about the new homes that we sell over $200,000. At this price point, 48% of our buyers bring their money from overseas, while 52% of our sales come from Ghanaians living in Ghana that made their money in Ghana. 4% are from European background and 16% are of Asian, Indian, Turkish, or Latino descent. So contrary to what people may think, less than 10% of our total buyers have a non-African ethnic background, while only 2% have a European background, though I suspect that will change as Ghana continues to grow in popularity among Europeans and Asians. So is there any truth to the statement that overseas investors are pricing out native Ghanaians? Well, I would argue this is certainly true in the more popular neighborhoods in Accra, especially near the airport. However, the reason I believe prices are rising in general is that West Africa is becoming richer in general, and homeowners are realizing that they can demand a lot more money for the best lots, regardless of the presence of overseas investors. And even though it could be argued that overseas investors could push up prices slightly, they are also injecting a lot of money into West African economies, creating jobs and businesses that will support Africa's continued ascent. For instance, a typical retiring couple in West Africa could easily spend 75 to 200,000 cedi every single month, and that is big-time economic growth. So to me, the pros of overseas investors coming to Ghana greatly outweighs the cons. And if you're from West Africa, are you happy we are bringing in Westerners with a lot of money to spend, or are we driving up prices too much?
So let this video sink in. Let what these two men sink in enough to make you so angry that you get up and take action. If you've got a spare $2,500 right now and you can afford a plane ticket and probably 5-night stay in an Airbnb here in South Africa, do so. Get here as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be South Africa. It could be West Africa. It could be East Africa. It could be anywhere in Africa where it's going to be safe for you to invest your money. I repeat, Asians, white Europeans, white Americans, white Canadians, Arabs, Latin America, they are all coming to Africa. Sooner or later, Africa is going to be the land of milk. It is a land of milk and honey. It is. Now they are realizing that, okay, Africans are a little bit now woke, and they are building relationships with other parts of the world, making it difficult for the West to come in and pillage our soils. I think I heard somewhere, I'm not quite sure where I heard this, or maybe I read it somewhere, an white American politician calling for Africa to be recolonized. And the reason why he's calling for recolonization of Africa is because they are realizing Africans are waking up. If that's how they're looking at it. Like, no, before they stand up from their slumber, we need to recolonize them. Because we are building relationships with the other economic blocs. South Africa is part of BRICS. And I think a few African countries are part of BRICS. And the West does not like that. And they feel like we need to come in with bombs, guns, and all of that, evade and recolonize the continent and prevent Africa from building further relationships with what they consider the enemy of their economic blocs. I hear that there is $2 trillion in the hands of the 40 million African Americans in the US. $2 trillion. Can you imagine what we as an African diasporan can do with $2 trillion together? Of course, with Afro-Europeans, Afro-Canadians, Afro-Latinas, Afro-Asians, they come with their own and add onto the $2 trillion pool. Can you imagine what we can do together as Black people on this planet? It's game over for many. Game over. And as for the foundational Americans, this is not your conversation. You should not insert yourself where you don't belong, where you do not recognize either. So please, I do not want to see a comment coming from you at all. Because this is not for you, this is not about you, this is about the African diasporan. People who consider themselves African diasporan. When they're in their respective countries, for example, the United States, they identify either as Black or African American. If you consider yourself an foundational American, keep it moving. This is not for you. Don't insert yourself where you don't belong. So as an African myself, I am calling you, my brother, my sister, come and invest in Africa. If you were thinking of investing elsewhere, redirect that investment to Africa. You will succeed. Trust and believe me when I tell you, you are going to succeed. So before I close this video, I want to encourage you that before coming to Africa, do your research. Spend at least 3 months of research. Go through each country. Find out the mentalities of each country, their psychology, because it's different. Our psychology in South Africa is different from that of Zimbabweans, even though they're just up, our nose. And the further you go, the further you get away from South Africa, it changes drastically. By the time you get to West Africa, it's a totally different mindset altogether. Do that research and find where you believe you fit in. In South Africa, it's a mixture of many things. Like I said, we have the most progressive constitution in the world. Everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter whether you're Black or white. It doesn't matter if you are tall or short, dark or light skin. Everybody is here. And everybody have a different mindset about certain things. So once you've done your research, the first thing that you do is visit. Take your first visit. Your first visit is going to be about exploring, having fun, all of that stuff. Your second visit is a fact-finding mission, because while you came the first time, you may have seen a couple of economic opportunities. People always tell us South Africans that we don't see the opportunities that some of y'all see, which is true. It takes somebody from the outside to see an opportunity that we don't see. Just like when we go to your country, we're like, oh my goodness, I saw this, I saw this, I saw that, but you did not see that. So your visit would have exposed you to a couple of things. And then your second visit is when you are doing your fact-finding mission to check if this is what I would like to pursue as an investment going forward. Once you are sure and you have gone back, you pondered on it, and then you prepared all the resources that you need to prepare, then you come back to plant yourself. Insert yourself in the continent's people and invest your money, and then grow that investment. Build yourself a legacy. Build yourself generational wealth going forward. Let your kids in the future know that I have 2 homes. I have a home where I was born, and I have a home on the continent of Africa as well. Our biggest goal as Black people in the African diaspora is unity. They want to keep us apart so that in between this gap, they are able to pillage, they're able to rape the land, they're able to steal, they're able to divide us even further. Ours is to come together and unite. Once we are united, because that's the biggest fear for them, is our unity. Because once we unite, it's game over. Because you know what we're going to start doing? We are going to start creating our own conglomerates. We are going to support each other. Out of that unity, we are going to create our own Elon Musks, our own Warren Buffetts, our own sheikh from the United Arab Emirates. We will be able, amongst the fashion industry, create our own Louis Vuittons and Gucci's and you name them. And we will stop buying those, but buying from each other. We need to create industrialists. We need to create innovators. As a matter of fact, when we unite, we need to deploy each other in various parts of the economy that is going to build us as a people. The celebrities, we deploy the black celebrities, we deploy them to be responsible for something. The rich blacks, we deploy them somewhere for them to develop something and be responsible for it. The educated blacks, we deploy them somewhere and give them responsibility to do something. And then all of us, we grow each other, build and cover all these holes that were created to divide us. That whenever we think only about us, rallying around each other. Take the dollar and let it rotate around us. Make sure that each and every one of us is in a better position. The question of a black bank is something that we need to discuss. How are we going to take that $2 trillion, put it in a bank that is owned by black people, where we are not going to be discriminated if we want to buy property or buy land, but it's okay for us to be given funds to buy a car because 5 years down the line it does depreciate. They get their money, but they don't want to give you money to buy a house or a piece of land. These are discussions that we need to have as black people. So I know that this video was all over the place. I thought, let me just speak what I need to say. If it did not make sense to you, well, I don't know what else to have put it, but this is how it sounded like in my head. And I hope that what I've just said in this video, we grab it and run with it. Let's take what these two white men said and use it for us. Let you come here and build relationships with the people in power so that you insert yourself in the hierarchy of our countries respectively and build yourself a name, build yourself a conglomerate, build yourself multi-millions of dollars. Employ Africans of the country you are investing in. Put them in managerial positions. Let's do exactly what they are doing here. They don't want you here because they don't want you to be a competition. But the biggest one they don't want us to do is to unite, because once we unite, we are going to put contingency plans in place and say anybody that is not an African diasporan, Africa belongs to Africa and African diasporans. And we have rules and regulations on how you can invest here as a non-African diasporan or as a non-African. Just want to say, guys, thank you to those that are super thanking the channel. It's very important because the money that you guys are super thanking the channel with is money that I use when African Americans, again, it's still African Americans that I'm meeting. I know that there are other African diasporans that are coming to South Africa. Unfortunately, I'm not getting emails from you guys. I'm not getting emails. Please do email me if you are coming from elsewhere other than the United States and you want to hang out. I now have more South Africans that want to come and hang out, and I felt that, you know what, it's great to have more South Africans because I don't want to make this as if it's my thing. This is our thing, all of us, South Africans and African diasporan. If you're an African diasporan, please also send me an email. It's under the About section of this channel. You'll find the email there. And African American brothers and sisters, please continue sending me those emails. I enjoy hanging around you guys. So the super thanks and the PayPal that you guys send, they help me a lot to be able to pay for my Ubers as well as the food that I buy when we are hanging out with American brothers and sisters. So I do invite you, if you are coming to South Africa, to hang out with me. I usually come to the airport to say what's up, and then you come in, and then we'll meet at some point whenever you are going to be free in Johannesburg. We just sit down, chop it up, and have a great time. Then you can continue with your visitation to South Africa. I have such a great time with you guys. I learn a lot. We teach each other about many things, and it's great. I love it. I also want to say thank you to some people that have been sending me gifts. You guys are the best. I love it whenever you ask me for my address and then I send it, and next thing I get a package one gift or another. It's been incredible. I highly appreciate you guys so much. And everybody that I've met thus far, guys, I miss you so much. Please come back. I miss y'all. So other than that, please do go to Ndira's channel. I will leave the link down below in the description box. She and I kind of like have the same mentality when it comes to this, all of this. She's doing the Lord's work. I love her work. I love the way she does this. Whatever this is called, I think we should give it a name at some point. I love it. She's doing such a great, and I think she does it better than I do. Please do support her. Watch her videos. She speaks about very topical, important issues regarding Africa and the African diaspora. I love watching her videos. Please do go support her as well. I highly appreciate that. So guys, this is it with this video. Please do not leave the video without liking the video, because it is important with the YouTube algorithm. It helps the channel to grow. YouTube basically pushes the video to more people, because the like button somehow is connected to the algorithm, and the algorithm looks at the like button to see how important this video is by looking at your likes. So please do me that favor. I highly appreciate it. Anyways, I think this is it with what I wanted to say in this video. Let's see each other in my next video. Goodbye.